Mike, I'd just like to welcome you and thank you very much for joining today's webinar. So, Mike, what's your role with food service?
Portfolio director, yeah.
So, he's the big wig, and it doesn't get much more knowledgeable when it comes to talking about trade shows, and especially food service, which is coming up on the 18th of May. So, it's only literally like what now? How many days? I'm sure you're counting.
Oh no, I don't want to go into that. I mean, you can put on the website those clocks that count down hour, minute, seconds, but they're panic inducing. So, but yeah, it's essentially next week, but it's right at the end of the week, so Sunday the 18th. Yeah.
So it's very exciting. And for those that are online that haven't met me before, my name's Vanessa Barnes and I am with Restaurant and Catering Association, and I'm going to be chatting to Mike today, and I'm really excited about it. So let's get straight into it. The tell us about the show, but more importantly about your company as well, because there's been a lot of changes in the last 12 months. From you've recently taken over the show, and a little bit of background about the business and where you're at and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, thanks for having me on, Vanessa. And yeah, it's flown by really. We acquired the show when it was Foodservice Australia, which had obviously historically been for a long time. Tim Collett had done a great job of running that show. We acquired it what seems like yesterday, but it was actually almost a year full cycle. So since then, we've the we being national media as a event organizer, we've been around 32 years. We're headquartered in the Gold Coast, still privately owned by one gentleman, a guy called Mark Harvey, super entrepreneurial guy who's ran trade shows in all sorts of industries. So food's always been one of Mark's passions to get into. He'd run cake, bacon, sweets, and a few other naturally good. Sort of bought and built those shows and then sold them. So soon as we were able to pick up food service, we were mega excited by the opportunity. It's a huge industry, and everybody has some sort of passion or nostalgic sort of understanding of food. So since then, we've launched the overarching brand, which is Food Service and Hospitality Week, and the co-located brands underneath of those, which will run next week, May the 18th, Sunday 18th, 19th, 20th, then Monday, Tuesday. We've got 4 branding under that, which is the Pizza Pasta Italian Food Show, full of first and second generation Italian sort of passion. So it's there's a heap of very interesting activations going on there. We've got a pizza comp in there. We've got a restaurant technology show that I think owners of restaurant businesses are super interested in how they can help. A lot of that is about driving margins, and a lot of the solutions in there around driving profitability. We've got a commercial kitchen show, which is, again, interesting to the owners and the chefs and the key influencers and people looking at big purchasing decisions. People like aged care who buy, huge hospital units or have large budgets, right the way down to single independents that need to replace a blender or want to change their plate, their cutlery. So, and the last part is obviously we've maintained Food Service Australia, which is really at the heart of the show. And overall, that concept has been, I think, really well received by the market, and we're hoping to see that come into play, next week or next Sunday.
So exciting. So firstly, how do they register for the show?
Yeah, registration pretty easy. Go onto the website. There is a ticketing portal there where you can go through and register. There's a number of tickets available across the show. There's also a ticket to the big industry night out. We've invested heavily in Sneaky Sound System coming on board this year. We wanted to, the old saying, you only get one chance for a first impression, is true. So we've booked Miss Collins, which is an amazing hospitality venue. Like there's the day I was down there securing the venue, the 2 days before, they were gloating about Robbie Williams being in there. So it's an amazing venue, Sneaky Sound System. That's on the Monday night. With registration codes, being an R&CA member, you can get a free ticketing code as well. So I think that's certainly worth, one of the reasons today to talk at the webinars not just to encourage members to come down from RCA, but also to let them know that, you know, because they're an RCA member, they don't have to pay the ticketing code, and they're able to get a ticket. So all registrations come through the website. But any questions, you know, you can shoot through to me or through the website. Yeah.
So if I'm a cafe owner or a restaurant owner, how would I go about planning out my day to be able to make sure that I was able to see everything that I needed to see?
Yeah, I think firstly, if you look at, say, if you're a cafe owner, the Sunday is the content is very much steered and nurtured towards smaller businesses. We've always, when we acquired this show, we looked at, shall we run this Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or do we look at bringing this into the week? But all the data supports that small to medium-sized enterprises really do attend on the Sunday. So we've tried to cultivate quite a lot of coffee around cafe culture, and a lot of new ideas we've got in that space. So I think then you look at a Monday, Tuesday, and you're looking at slightly more corporate leaning days content. So we've got things like a lot more QSR content in there, hotels, some bigger procurement and strategic decision making. So I think there's that part already. The show has been designed to lean into certain audience elements that exist. In the sense of planning your day, I think there's nothing better than looking at two things. One, a floor plan, and looking and saying, you can easily do that with an exhibit list. We've got an event guide on the site, which will be there for anybody coming as well. But to pre-prepare, to look through the exhibit list, and again, look at the four shows. Right, I'm a pizzaiolo. I'm interested in flour, cheese company. I'm interested maybe in recruiting some of the top talent on the stage. I'm a cafe owner, and I'm struggling with the POS system I'm using. You know, it's not right, or it's not functioning, or they're charging too much, or what else is in the market. So there's an element of being able to go through the exhibit list. So I think the first thing is the floor plan, like looking through that, looking around. Don't be scared or scared, but look around. When I chat to buyers, they say they always go around the edges first, which is interesting, because they're looking for small businesses that are either scaling up pretty quickly. They got the opportunity then to meet an owner, whereas if they're chatting to a larger food service enterprise who might already be, you know, supplier to them, there's definitely of interest, but they might chat to a estate manager. So there's value in chatting to those, you know, and then certainly value in looking around at some of the interesting exhibitors we got there as well. So and the second part of that's the agenda. So there's a huge educational program, and we've worked really hard on that this year to bring that to life. We've got a business stage and a main stage. All the content is up with speakers, bios, and photos on the website. I know you're speaking a couple of times. We were chatting earlier, moderating quite a few panels. So you've got quite a lot on your plate next week as well. But yeah, the agenda is absolutely stacked with talent, and the comp stages. We've got, you know, Danny from GG's. We've got Johnny from Grady. We've got Jimmy from Easy's on those two guys on the pizza. Jimmy's from Easy. Raf's on the burger comp. We've got John McFadden's running a really great group of judges on the Chef of the Year. So there's just heaps of talent. So I think the website, as well as registering, like get a floor plan, you know, get a floor plan up. The floor plan will go live towards the end, hopefully this week or start next week, or we're more than happy to send one out to people.
Yes, we might even be able to put one up on our member portal, which would be a great tool to be able to share out as well. So what time does the show door open?
10. We're open at 10 a.m. We're expecting, we run 10 a.m. to 5 Sunday, Monday, and then we're 10 till 4 on the Tuesday. A lot of people said to us, oh, Food and Hospitality Week, are you going to do a whole week? And we're like, Jesus, no. Like we do not want. We've got, and then someone said, oh, is it more of a Greek working week, i.e. 3 days, which I thought was quite comical. But yeah, we didn't want to. It's not about, our ethos is not about like more, like as in time. Like you don't have a better show because you run it for 4 or 5 days. You get the nucleus of important people there, and we're also not chasing numbers. Of course, we're expecting 15,000 visitors to turn up, but our game is around people of influence, and hospitality professionals wanting to be there, like having a show that is interesting to them, not running a show that's just a large exhibition that, you know, has no life.
So are you able to then pull apart the attendance post show so that you're able to see how many of the people that attended are from actually the Melbourne area, and then how many it brought in from other states, to be able to see, I suppose, how it actually contributes towards the economy, right?
Yeah, it's always interesting with the economy question. I mean, I used to run mining events for 10 years, and we had PwC, and, you know, mining's a huge contributor to the GDP in Australia. And it was very difficult. You ended up in the trillions of dollars sort of figures. So it looked great, but it was difficult sometimes to estimate like the impact. Certainly from a data set, we're really looking at, you know, 15 to 18% of our attendees come from cafes historically. That
Yeah.
large subset. Hospitality groups or independents across restaurants, cafes, pubs, clubs are about 25%, almost evenly matched by you know, hospitality groups ranging from the small to the Chris Lucas and Luke Mangans up to, you know, the Seagrasses and all the other larger groups in the industry. So and then the rest is made up of contract catering and a lot of very significant players in the institutional space as well, QSRs, and we've got a very strong presence in distributors. Interesting this year, the pizza show has developed that. So yeah, we definitely look at it. We do a post-show report where we're, you know, post-show questions where we're trying to find out the audience. But a big question to us when we not only took over this, but a continuing question we keep asking ourselves is, well, how do we get the right people in the room? And obviously knowing who attends this year and who doesn't will also lean into our decision making for Sydney 2026.
So putting a bit of a focus or a lens over those that you're going to have in the room, which are going to be your stand holders, how would somebody do a little bit of investigating, or how do they find out more about those that are going to be exhibiting?
Yeah, so it's always interesting with this because we've got a portal where people can go on a website, you can find a bio, you can get a description, but then there's also one of the geniuses of trade shows when they're running well is that you can never, the key is to meet the people, right? So it's like we definitely try to provide information so people can look and say, okay, this is interesting, this is a new flour company, you know, and what's this is not something I've heard of, this is a particular type of you know, equipment that we've not looked at. There's a, you know, Hobart have got a new washware sort of piece of, you know, I know they launched something fairly recently, so something like that, like people would be interested in that. So there's a little bit of work we're doing on trying to do new product development and highlighting that within some of the marketing we're doing, and trying to promote some really interesting products are there. We're certainly trying to do that through socials as well. You can certainly find out some of that information from the website. But the genius in a way, as I say, or the real benefit of a trade show, I think will always be the fact that those conversations where you can actually chat to somebody. So it's almost a game of like, we want to provide a certain amount of information, but really it's can we get people to be, you know, those key buyers and end users to be able to, and a lot of the navigation on a floor plan is made easier by the 4-show design. So by having a pizza, pasta, Italian show, commercial kitchen show, restaurant tech, and Foodservice Australia, like we expect people to register through, say, for example, the pizza show, and then they might turn up thinking, okay, I'm looking for something particular or what's new and what's on trend, but they will walk the show. Like a buyer will suddenly go, okay, oh, well, I might have a look at this as well, or you know, there's a bar and beverage stage, and you've got some King Valley Nebbiolo grapes that are only grown in the King, or you know, there's only certain areas where you can grow legitimate Italian grapes. They might see somebody doing, one of our guys doing a masterclass there. So I think there's a cross-pollination value to the model, but there's also a direction. There's also a lot of thought into trying to get people to the right stands.
Is there any point for guests to try and make meetings in advance with exhibitors?
There's no app. We've been long considering this as an app. Like I've again come from a background of mining where you would certainly always have meetings arranged in advance. I think our big question, and you might better help me out with this, But you've been doing this a lot longer than me. Like, what's your on hospitality? We'd love to arrange meetings, but our hospitality professionals going to turn up and meet food service companies. It's all about whether that key end user buyer. So it's certainly a question. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're such a time poor, short on workforce industry, and it's never been more prominent than it is now. So I feel like when it comes to going to these shows, it's to pique your interest. It's to find out where it is that you want to focus your time on, whether it be the tech, the pizza, the pasta, the equipment, etc. And then following up would be my way of managing those. I wouldn't use a trade show really for meetings.
I agree. I think
There's too many distractions.
Yeah, so much going on, and that's part of our design. Like this year, we've got 3 competitions. We've got 2 stages. We've got restaurant tech stage. We've got a VIP buyers program and lounge. We've got a Lux bus coming in for Hospo Dojo. We've got a huge bus. To organise a podcast thing we've got on there. We've got Straight to the Source, Tanya and Lucy running an amazing program, which sort of nose to tail or farm to plate, kind of very orientated towards chefs. There's so much going on. I agree. I think I hope that, and this is an industry full of inspiration and ownership, of individual ownership. I hope people leave with a bit of inspiration as well, and people actually see something new. That's a large. That's what you want from a trade show.
And I think that you're giving it all that you can in terms of resources to provide that inspiration. I can't think of any other element that you could add to this show to be able to create that inspiration. And I think that it comes to a point where the guest, if they go in there with a mindset of, okay, this is what I want to learn more about, this is what I want to see, it gives them a little bit of direction rather than going in and going, this is overwhelming, oh my God, type of thing.
Yeah.
They can immerse themselves a lot more in that, in the activities.
Totally. And I mean, I think when shows are going well, opportunity sits a little bit above education. So what I mean by that is the ability to go and meet people. Like a lot of people, if you've run a restaurant for 15 years, you don't need to be necessarily told how to run at a better operating profit, but you're looking for those little ideas. People come away with 2 ideas or a bit of inspiration or something. And that's why I say opportunity always sits a bit above education when it goes well. Because that's what people are looking for, and that's there should be multiple opportunities to meet people who you have not met before, or see products or listen to ideas, and those little things are what makes the difference to businesses.
And that's actually a perfect segue. So if people are wanting to network and they are wanting to meet the new people, is there areas that they're able to do that?
Yeah, we've been big on what we would call white space in the events industry. So there's both a VIP program, who I think would certainly be relevant to some of the R&CA members who are sort of significant or influential buyers or end users. So we'll be upgrading a lot of those people as we get closer to the event. So there'll be a VIP buyers lounge, which will have coffee in the morning and a sort of bar starting from 2 to 3 o'clock. Beautiful setup, looks a bit like an airport lounge.
Is it all non-alcoholic, or is there some?
No, we're proper hospitality. There is a non-alcoholic drinks event at Straight to the Source event. No, this is like, I mean, I think we're in the hospitality industry.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, it's real. I don't know how. I mean, I can't say the wine will be world class, but there'll certainly be. So we want, like, our focus is, if you go back to the change in name, Food and Hospitality Week, Foodservice Australia spoke largely to the exhibitor, food service. When you chat to a hospitality business, I've got plenty of friends who are restaurateurs around in Hong Kong, where I used to live in the UK. They don't think they're in the food service business. They think they're in the hospitality business. So a lot of our positioning of the brand and a lot of the stuff is really acknowledging the importance of the hospitality industry and the food service. And by doing that, you take care of the food service exhibitors, because if you can attract both sides, you're kind of doing your job half decently. So We've got a lot of other lounges. There's a hangout lounge as well. We've got 2 or 3 other lounges. We've got a cafe. We've definitely purposely prepared white space so that people who are in there can not only network but could also nip off and do an email or a call, because you lose people out of shows if you think they're just going to walk around all the time. Like sometimes people want to sit and have a coffee on a beanbag and send 2 work emails, or they've got a course to do. So you'll see a show that's designed with a lot of networking spaces in there.
You have chairs as well, right? If I got down into a beanbag, I wouldn't get out again.
There's good bits, Vanessa, don't worry. There's chairs for the middle-aged like us, and there's beanbags for the youthful sort of the youthful members who can actually get back up gracefully.
I know, and I'll just sit there. That's my inspiration. Anyway, so moving on. Tell me about the boundaries for the show in terms of what to wear, what to bring. Are children allowed? What are the do's? What are the don'ts?
So age range, we were umming and ahhing about this for a while, but we went for 16 because we're not like, we want to go back to the circle of influence. We want people to be there for commercial reasons, and you're always balancing the act between, as part of the, we didn't want to just have an influx of students, but at the same time, you need to look at the culinary schools and the TAFEs and the people. And we wanted to balance the act with the being part of the industry. Like, so I hope we won't know until we get to the show, but we've got that balancing act right. So we're asking any students or people turn from TAFEs or anybody from William Anglis to dress like in an appropriate sort of sense, or even if they're looking for work or future employment. So there's an element of that in the sense of dress wear. I mean, again, it's hospitality, right? Like, I mean, I was my first food service show last year, and I dressed very smart on the first day. And by the 3rd day, I mean, still wearing a shirt and a jacket, but I'd kind of got the gist of the industry. So I mean, I'm not going to, if I say smart casual, I'm going to age myself by 10 years. But yeah, essentially, like, we're the hospitality industry. Like, if Johnny at Grady, if I said to Johnny at Grady, hey, you've got to wear a nice apron, he's just going to, or like a chef's jacket, like, he's just going to say, no, I'm wearing my black t-shirt.
So it's just be comfortable and wear good shoes, because it's a lot of walking. Yes. And are you allowed to bring drink bottles in, or that's a no-no?
Do you know, I don't know the answer to that question. You've caught me off guard.
Well, we might find that out.
We'll find out.
Yeah. So what are some of the pitfalls to avoid when you are visiting a show? Like, do you get there at 10 o'clock, or do you get there earlier? I mean, I know sometimes that everyone can like bombard at the same time. Do you, I don't know, some pitfalls?
I think a good way to structure your day is to look at 2 or 3 pieces of content you want to see, and then model it off that, because you then can build your sort of agenda around, like, what are those events? Like, if there's 2 or 3 things I really want to go to, and ironically, people often miss those because they get caught up in conversations and they're walking through the trade show. In a sense of the start time, like, I don't think it makes a huge difference. Like, one thing we have tried to do is design the show so there is different things running each day. So, for example, the pizza comp finishes on a Monday, and obviously a lot of pizza chefs can then make that show so that they're able to be there and part of that business. We've got an Equipment Innovation Awards that is being run, and a lot of the awards will be on a Monday night. So we'll be announcing the winner of the burger comp, the pizza comp. So there's all those sort of things that are interesting to be there, good networking events. So if you think about the networking, like, that comes into play in the afternoon. We've got some companies who are doing drinks on their stand, or there'll be exhibitor drinks at 5 o'clock. So I think if you're an early bird and you want to come in and you want to look at content, get there early, beat the queues, get in there nice and early, walk around. There'll be people, a lot of the exhibitors are setting up from 8 o'clock. They're prepared with sample sizes and food. So you walk in the show, if you walk in at 8, or you walk in at 10, or you walk in at 3, everybody's in a position to be able to provide product. So I'd model it around a couple of bits of content, maybe look at networking, what stands do I want to see, and don't rule out coming back for a second day. Like there's so much, you know, as I say, the days are purposely quite different.
And don't turn your name badge around the wrong way.
No, God, that's yes, yeah. Well, we did consider just putting it both sides, and then you're screwed if you try to turn it around. But yeah, get your name badge. Like people will lead scam people, but that's so they've got an ability to follow up. So all of that modernization. I mean, it was interesting. I was in the States recently, and people are still using business cards. Like, you know, I was at a pizza show over there in Vegas, and that was interesting to see. So you had even tech companies there doing that. So I think come prepared with business cards, like you know, or a digital card or whatever else. So you've got that ability to exchange information. Yeah, and I'd have 5 or 10 exhibitors I might want to go and see. Like that's when you come away feeling it's valuable. Is when you avoid those pitfalls of just walking in and being like, oh, like where do I go?
Every year with the trade shows, there's a theme. You know, one year it could be sushi, one year it could be slow cooked, it could be. Do you see a common thing? You know, it could be the coffee, it could be the different milks. Is there a certain theme that you're seeing this year?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think how many of the themes are we seeing, and how we don't have an ability to steer the themes. We're an event that supports the industry and provides a platform for that. One thing we've been big on is trying to get more 25% of our audience to be chefs, which is a big ask when you've got 15,000 visitors. So
And especially with an industry that are short on time as well,
incredibly hard,
short-staffed.
incredibly hard to get out of the kitchen, right? Like it's not easy. Like so a lot of the trends we're seeing, Straight to Source have done a really good job on that. So they've got, you know, mixologists and people, one of the food tech people from Messina talking about the changes in, certainly the gelato market there's really decent margin in it once you've, you know, got your setup costs and stuff. So I think, you know, I see there's quite a bit of talk about how that market's maturing and coming to that. If you look at, say, the pub market, we're seeing, like, you know, a conversation, I think it was PFD, and they were saying that's pretty strong at the moment. There's certain resilience in certain sectors we're seeing. There's certainly there's certainly a need for technology past POS. Like you could fill a show with point of sale, there's nothing wrong with that, but like there's a lot of interest in having different technology products. That I was over in the States again, it's not going to come to fruition yet, but there's a lot of interesting technology coming out of the States. I mean, I know John, who obviously you know, is your chairman, and is pretty connected with some of those US sort of tech enterprise.
He's over there at the moment, actually.
Yeah, and he's, you know, there's something working with you guys, the R&CA, like with that. So technology is ever evolving. I mean, it's one of those things that it's almost like, let's get past POS and look at everything else that's in play. Like AI voiceover stuff is quite interesting. Like there's a lot of that already in the States that's beginning to make its way over with call handling and different marketing tools. Digital signage is more and more a thing. Like I walked into my local cafe where they serve green smoothies in South Yarra, and they it's all, you know, it's all digital kind of, or kiosks functioning. A lot of that's coming in at the shows as well. So definitely a lean into the technology innovation side, and then there's a reasonable amount of new product developed at the show. Don't have the figures yet to see what that is, but obviously people really want to align new product development with trade shows because it's a great platform for them.
And what about some business management tools? I know that may sit under the tech space, but is there any talks or presentations on managing costs within the business and how people are doing it, what they're doing? Because I know at the moment, like there was even a write-up yesterday I was reading with a schnitzel that had been charged at something like $50 odd in a pub in South Australia, I think it was, and the margin once they'd taken out all the costs for that was something like $2.50. I mean,
Right. Right.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it just is an indication on how exceeding this industry is becoming in the cost of goods area. Is there going to be many resources or much of a focus in that space?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole profit bit on the business stage particularly is pretty orientated towards dealing with those really big questions around margin and how you develop a product in line with developing a cost structure that's both sustainable short and long term. I mean, if you look at a lot of the pricing on coffee, it's, I saw something recently around the breakdown of the costs that are factored into a coffee, and there's a lot of the grab and go coffee stuff is becoming huge in the CBD in Melbourne. Like everyone sees it, and people are making low staff, 2 people. Got a few talks on those sort of is that the future, or are we going back to a more developed multi-dexterous sort of approach to cafes, or is that something that's built in a sort of slightly down economy, or those terrible cost of living that everyone talks? I don't particularly like using those words, but so there's definitely a lot of conversation about how that works. There's 1 or 2 sessions on the recent election. I think that will come up, and people will talk a bit about what the impact is there. It's obviously a bit of a known unknown at the moment. But yeah,
it's so interesting to me that we had the election on the weekend. I haven't heard a single person even mention it in the industry since. It's kind of like, okay, that's done.
yeah,
It's over. It's like look forward now. So yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, and I think this is an industry again that that is fairly short focused in a way. It's an interesting industry. Like people put their houses up for that to up as security. Like they're huge investment in those businesses, but they're, like you said, people like the election. It's like, well, I've got to run a business. So there's that sort of long and long-term commitment, but that short-term, like, well, okay, what's on trend? Like, what can we do to make this effective? And I mean, there's loads of AI tools now where you can, and I don't want to keep going on about the tech, but where you can look at menu creation, you can actually break down what the cost is per item, and all that sort of stuff that I think can help businesses, like if you can control those cost centers. But yeah, you're right. I think the election is kind of interesting, but at the same time, I don't know, it's somewhat redundant if you're in the thick of running a business.
I think that we're just such a resilient industry that it's, nothing we haven't really seen before. I mean, COVID was probably the first thing that a lot of us have ever experienced in our life and hope to never have to experience again. But other than that, things happening, it's just an ever evolving industry. We are very resilient. However, so in terms of like how to maximize the post-show follow-up, if you like
Yeah.
How would you suggest that is orchestrated?
I think it starts with what we've talked about: being prepared, finding the right people, finding the people who can help your business, finding the people who have a synergy. Then it's the next steps, obviously, to get the right information when you're there. Like, procure that information you need to have that next follow-up conversation. And then the lead scanner process will connect 2 people, so you can quite easily connect in the sense of emails and follow-ups and contact details. And then I think with the follow-up, it's just about, I mean, I always suggest never leaving things too long, like trying to get into those conversations freshly and being part of that. So, there's processes in play for us to help facilitate that. But I think at heart, the event's about trying to create that opportunity, and then you just hope. I mean, I think it's a big question for exhibitors as well. Like, it's a big question for exhibitors. Like, they go and spend a fair amount of money at these events, And I know it would be frustrating, like you've been head of marketing in lots of enterprises, and now obviously have your own business, but there's nothing more frustrating than generating a load of leads and then not doing anything with them. So I think it's both sides of the market. It's like it's incumbent on both parties, I think, to try to get the best out of those conversations.
So if I'm a visitor and I take a card from a stand and I really do want to hear from them or make contact with them after the event, but on the way home I lose the card.
Yep.
Does that information still stay on the website for some time? So if a guest wanted to go or a visitor wanted to go back, they can find the exhibitors still?
You can definitely, but you can connect through. I'm happy to share my like we don't want to be an event that like we'll always look at any personal touch. So if it comes back and somebody says, "Oh, I've missed this," happens all the time in events. We can happily connect people up to provide those. Or if they say, "I didn't get to meet some of these companies, can you provide the details? I was too busy, or I missed this person, I'm annoyed," then we'll easily, I'll shoot an email over, copy the key person on the other side, say I'm just introducing. So all of that facilitation that you can do around the show and the back of the show, we're always there. We've got big data sets, we've got some relationships, and ultimately those connections are so yeah, both from a perspective of finding it on the website, yes, but also from a personal element, always happy. Always, we're about connecting people. That's ultimately what an event is. Out of everything else, content, exhibition, networking, it's ultimately just about often two people chatting.
That's a really nice touch. So we've kind of gone through a whole heap of discussion points today, and we've covered a lot of area. Is there anything that you think that I may have missed that would be beneficial for people to know about the show?
Well, I might throw it back at you. Like when you've done shows, what you've done so many trade shows and looked at it. When you think about what you would want to go and see, how do you map it out yourself? Like if you often you're involved in them, of course, but if you're not, if you're coming as a visitor, what would you?
I've traveled overseas to some really big shows, and I do look at the exhibitor list. That's the first thing that I do have a look at. I like to be able to see who's exhibiting and where the different areas of the show are, so that if I want to get to a certain point, like the technology space, then I can go straight there. I've never heard actually of walking around the outside of a show before. But it kind of does make a little bit of sense, because then you get an understanding of where the different areas are. But
You get the owners. You often get the owners in the small businesses. That's what's interesting. Like if like who knows where that business is? They might be busting 18 months. They might bust in 6 months. They might be in 5 years' time employing 300 people.
yeah. But I also am one to look at the attractions. I love seeing the live events. I do like seeing the talking points. I like to try and find new. I like to see what's happening in the new space. And I think that with the sound of how big the show is going to be, I think that people need to allow 2 days. I don't think that you're going to really be able to get around and experience everything in just 1 day. Would you think that'd be fair to say?
Well, if I was being ambitious, I'd say 3 days, but I know people are too
Yeah,
tight.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. Like there's so much to do there, and hopefully being the Sunday, Monday, I know people are time sensitive, and I know, but I mean, if you set out that you want to be there over a couple of days, it's I think there's a heap of value. But it's like, how do you events are like a hack into time? Like, what can I do where I can see as many people as I can with new products? Each business is setting up their exhibition stand, is setting up as their business, as their shop front for 3 days. So there's so much you can get out of coming. So I mean, yeah, I'd always encourage people to come for a couple of days if they can.
And just take your time. I think take your time and don't rush is really important as well, because when you rush and you just glance, you can miss some really vital and important just some really good opportunities. And I think that every business that's there that is showcasing has a reason to be, and it's may not be everybody's reason to be, but I think it's good to explore and understand why they are there.
Oh, definitely. Like it's not, and we've made a big effort to ask people to activate as much as possible. So, you know, I found out today Mayors is sculpting chocolate, some sort of chocolate thing going on. We've got a company who's now escapes me, Nature's Cargo distributor, who've got like some of the best mixologists in Asia Pacific on their stands. I don't know if they're still doing. I've got to check in. There's one company distributor who's going to have an opera singer. We've got,
wow.
yeah.
Is that like a tea tonic or something? That's very on brand for them, actually.
No, I think it's one of the Italian distributors, but
yes.
We have to tell their neighbours, of course, about it, because otherwise they're going to have this big bellowing. But yeah, I think there's each business is there to try to obviously sell stuff, but there's a lot of thought that goes into that. And yeah, I think you know, hopefully if people come down for a couple of days, they'll have a really valuable couple of days. And you know, like I say, we're not, our mantra is we don't want to make trade shows boring. Like we don't want all our videography, all our filming, everything we'll do to repurpose content. Like it's about the experience.
I think you've done a fabulous job. I'm not too sure if the couple of people online have got a question that they'd like to ask. If they do, by all means, you're welcome to. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time today, Mike, and Lucy for organising this as well. It's been a really, really good chat, and I think that these are really important for visitors when visiting trade shows to just get a bit of insight on how to navigate them successfully.
Yeah, and like it's like anything in life, a good formula. Like once you've done it once, you know what you're doing. Like if you're walking a trade show floor and you haven't done for a few years, and you've got a little bit of a plan, I tell you, you're going to feel like you achieve a lot more. It's like anything in life. You've got a bit of a plan, at least you've got a structure. So no, really appreciate your time. Thanks for the probing questions. I got them almost all right. I didn't know about the water one, but surely we're a sustainable thing. I'm going to put my head on the chopping block and say you can definitely bring water bottles because we're sustainable. So that's the only one. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I now when you turn up to a concert or something like that, and you might have a water bottle and they make you empty it all out or throw it away. It's just, if people have got, a metal water bottle and they wanted to bring it in, just wanted to check that they could or not.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, what they put in it, we won't ask any questions. So.
Anyway, thank you so much. Look at that. We're on time. We've done extraordinarily well.
You've done well there. Well done. Okay. All right, cool. Look,
I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks, in like a week.
Just over. Don't even go there. All right, cool. I'll see you. Thank you so much for today, and I'll see you in just over a week.
All right. Thanks so much. Bye. Bye.